Hello, and welcome to your exclusive upgrade, your intensive video training guide to internet real estate. We're going to talk about how to sell domain names. We're going to talk about how to sell websites. We're going to talk about how to build websites. We're going to talk about all of these different price points, what makes a certain domain valuable, all of the different types of domains, such as brandable domains, keyword domains. We're going to go over all of that in these next two videos. What I'll do is I'll start off with the basics. We'll talk a little bit about it. I'll give you a second right now if you want to press pause and go and get a glass of water or a notepad, go to the bathroom or whatnot. We'll be together pretty extensively regarding the basics. And then after the basics, I'm going to redo the whiteboard, and then I'm going to draw out all of the parameters, and we're going to talk about parameters for the second half of this series. Okay? I will entirely go over everything that there is to know about this. The only other research that you might want to do is at the respective sites that you use to sell your website. For instance, if you use Flippa, you might want to get familiar with Flippa's updated terms of service. Take a look through other listings for reference. Look at your competitors' listings and learn what is selling for what price. And then I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different options of different types of sales for different types of domain names, different types of websites. So, without further ado, let's get started with the very basics of domain flipping, okay? There's these four different types of domains that I typically work with. .coms I work with the most. .net is the second on the list of what I call SEO power. The experts might have a better explanation of the hierarchy of extension. Hierarchy of extension, I like that. .org is my third favorite, and others' favorites as well. And .info is the least of the least powerful domain name of these four. But of course, you can get them for very, very cheap. And also, there's another benefit to .info is a lot of them are available. When .com is not available, you can most certainly always get the .info. And I've seen great success with search, organic search with .info domain names based on a keyword, and we'll get into that in detail. But those are the different types of domain names that you'll probably want to deal with. Like, for instance, if you go and do a search for a dog training database, just do a search for that with GoDaddy, you'll see this pop up. It'll say .com either available or unavailable. You'll see .net either available or unavailable. You'll see .org, the same thing. You'll see, and usually .com is, if .com is taken, .info might be available, .org might be available, .net might be available, but .com, it's very rare for .com to be available and .net not be available. Does that make sense? So usually .com is the one that everyone always goes for, of course, and they get .net if .com is taken. Okay, that's usually how it works. .com is the most valuable. If you had the same term, for instance, getyourxback.com, and then you had getyourxback.net, you had getyourxback.org and getyourxback.info, and all domains, no website, no history, all bought at the same time, .com would be the most valuable. All right, you might debate me on that. Like, for instance, if you the same situation where .net, was they all had WordPress blogs for them, say, but .net made money. .net would sell for much more than .com would sell for. Okay, so but it's like that. To begin with, if all of them were equal, then you'd be looking at .com being the most valuable. All right. Now, domains are registered through the global registry. So all of these retailers like GoDaddy and all of these companies, they do that for you. It's a service, and the value in using a service like GoDaddy is that they have a control panel that you can very easily access all these different aspects to your domain. You can, and the one thing that you're probably going to want to do, make up your mind of what you want to do with it, and this is how you build a website, is in the control panel, in GoDaddy or A+, or wherever you got your domain name. In the control panel, you can do either forwarding, where you forward the domain name to something. So if someone goes to the computer and types in your domain name into Google, into the browser search bar, and they do a search, it'll go to the domain name, but right away, and then it'll forward right to wherever you forwarded it to. So say, for instance, you got getyourxback.com. I log into GoDaddy, or you log into GoDaddy and you say, I want to forward my domain name, getyourxback.com, to getyourxback or doubleyourdating.com. So I thought of a website that's on ClickBank, right? So, you go to forwarding, you click on forward, and you would put double your dating, okay? And then double your dating would, someone went to getyourxback.com, it would go right to double your dating because you forwarded it there. But that is, of course, not the way to make a website. That's to just forward your domain. And that's what we would do, as I was explaining in the Craigslist video, if you're going to do DEF CON 4, I believe it was. That's where you post your link, and then it would just forward right to whatever site you wanted to forward it to. All right? And we'll get, if you have any questions, feel free to get at me about them, okay? Next, the other option you can do, and you're either going to do forwarding or you're going to do this, or you're not going to do anything. The other option you can do is allocate your name servers. You plug in your name servers, and your name servers is the identity of your hosting. It's the receptor. It's like your antenna from your hosting. This is the most organic explanation you probably ever heard. I mean, it's probably not even quite accurate, but that's just what the name servers do. You put your name servers, which are, like mine is like ns1.thedomainname.com. And so I'll put those name servers into where it says name servers. And what that does is now when someone types in your name, getyourxback.com, it'll bring up your files on your hosting because you put in your name servers. If you have a WordPress blog that you installed through your control panel in your hosting, then the domain name will bring up your WordPress software, okay, that you installed through your hosting for free. Any other, I'm going to move on now, so any other questions regarding WordPress, regarding building a site, this stuff is stuff you can find on YouTube. I mean, it is actually quite simple because it's always the same. It's always the same protocol everywhere, unless you're using a done-for-you solution. Like I have a done-for-you solution where it's similar to doing a WordPress site, except we host it, we do all of that. So if you're using a done-for-you situation, that would be the only difference. But if you want to learn how to do HTML, you could go to YouTube and type in HTML tutorial. And the first couple, that's such a professional term that the first few results will probably be very professional results. And they should be really good lessons for HTML tutorials, Photoshop tutorials. You can learn a lot in the top 10 results for YouTube. I wouldn't recommend YouTube for if you type in like internet marketing or something. Oh, awful, awful. Just kidding, because I'm like number 1, number 2. All right, so anyway, look, so basically you have these 4 different types of domains. You have 2 different types of things you could do with them. You can either forward them to whatever site you want, or you can just have them go to your files, and that's when you build a website, either WordPress or you upload your HTML files. Again, for any WordPress, learning how to build a WordPress site and learning how to plug in, use plugins, that's like that's stuff that you can really learn, from WordPress.com. Go to WordPress.com. They have tons of tutorials. I mean, who better to learn it from but the people who invented the software? That's all I'm saying. But they're not going to teach you this stuff. So I'm glad you're listening, okay? So anyway, that's the basics, okay? Now that you know how, I even skipped ahead and talked a little bit about this. WordPress, that's the WP, and this is the affiliate site. See, I try to do the little buttons, the little navigation buttons and stuff. Not the best illustrator, but, wanted to kind of give you a visualization here, a little visualization. So you pick up some .coms, right? Could be either a brandable.com or a keyword.com. Now, what's that mean? And that's something we're going to get down to with the parameters. But basically, a keyword domain is a domain name based on a popular keyword. And you find these keywords from two places. You can go to Google and you can type in top 1,000 keywords that were searched. And it's really niche. You're going to get niches if you type that in. You're going to get a list of all sorts of crazy, stuff that people search for, Probably there'll be celebrity names in there, Britney Spears or something, or, Lady Gaga or whatever. There'll be all sorts of stuff. There'll be Christmas wreaths, the top 1,000 searches you'll get, life insurance, stuff like that. So you take those niches, those keywords, that is just in basic market research that's readily available. You take those and you put them into the Google keyword tool. Now, if I were to take, for instance, let's use the example, get your ex back, right? If I took the keyword, get your ex back, that's something that people type in. They actually type in get my ex back more than get your ex back, if I remember correctly. So, say for instance, if I were to put in get my ex back into the Google keyword tool and I press send, Google will look up all of their data and they'll spit it on the page for me. They'll put it on the page for me, a whole long list of keywords. I'll get your ex back, get my ex back, get my ex back quick, get my ex back online, it's just this long list. Now, every one of those keywords, you can go to GoDaddy and search for them, or you can go to domain search. There's some services. Go to Google and check this out. Domain search, and you put those keywords in, and you can search quick because GoDaddy is slow when you're searching. But sometimes I'm buying a whole bunch of stuff on GoDaddy. I got my cart is active and I'm adding things to my cart. So I stay at one site. Either that, have GoDaddy on the left in that window and then open up another window. I don't know how big your screen is, but you could have GoDaddy on the left and then have like a domain searcher on your right. Okay? So the domain searcher, you're putting in all those keywords that you get from Google Keyword Tool, and then it says available, then you put it into GoDaddy and buy it at GoDaddy. So you could do it that way, or you could do it just with one window, just searching with GoDaddy. You could do it with your phone. You buy and sell domain names with your phone. You don't even need a computer anymore to make money online. That's why I'm always so hypey about this. So we're talking about keyword domain names right now. We're talking about finding all these ideas and buying the keyword domain name. If get your ex back is available, first of all, when I do a search with the Google Keyword Tool and I do a search for get your ex back, it says gets 300,000 searches a month. I'm like, 300,000 searches a month, that is dope. If you, good. If you do a search and it says 2,000 a month, maybe, depends on the niche. Like if it's a keyword that, only gets 2,000 searches a month, but, the clientele spend $50,000, like it's like, buy jet engine, it's like, jet engine consultant, and that's what you do, is you sell certain types of jet engines or something, and you're an expert on that, then yeah, you might want that keyword, and it's only 2,000. It might be your name, and only gets 2,000 searches or 200 searches, but you still want that domain. That's another story. But you see my point, right? It might be a really high, monetizable term, like jet engine retailer. Someone who typing that in is maybe a month from now is looking for a place right now, and a month from now is going to buy some airplane parts and spend like 50,000 bucks. So if you were to set up a site, you know, and people opt in and stuff, you could start to broker these deals as an affiliate for the site that sells these types of parts. And I'm actually, this is not theory. There is actually a site that I was an affiliate for. I'll be honest with you, I didn't sell any of the parts because it required brokering. I thought maybe I'd get lucky or something, but no, you're not going to see any sales unless you broker, because the people who are looking to spend that amount of money, they're not going to just click through and just buy like without, you know, they're probably going to call. You know, it's much bigger percentage. Same thing with like high-end jewelry and stuff. They're probably definitely going to call, and you know, they're probably going to want to talk about price and stuff, try to bring price down and stuff. And that gives you a lot of room to broker and to do a rebate, because if you get a commission, you can share the commission. And you know, I mean, you know, if you know your stuff, that's a good idea. But that's a totally another story. I just figured I'd give you that example while I was remembering it. Okay. So anyway, look. So those are the keyword domains. They're based on actual keywords. You get exactly the domain name that is the keyword. You could do it with .infos too. For instance, someone I think I know, one of my students, I'm not sure about the domain. It was something like this. It was like travelcoupons.info, and he bought it for like some ridiculous amount of money. And I was like, at first when he told me, you know, he says he bought it for like $17,000, and I was like, oh no, like, you know, he Skyped me and says this. He's a guy in my class. I said, oh no, you didn't. And he's like, yeah, man, you know, this is going really well for me. And I was like, well, what do you mean, well, man? I mean, you know, spending, like, you're not going to get a lot of money for that. And he's like, you know what he says to me? He's like, well, pizza delivery or some, you know, or some other domain name like that, like very, very popular. He's like, pizzadelivery.info sold for $32,000 last month. And he starts naming all these other domain names that he bought and resold. And he's saying that's how he makes his money, his living now. I said, where'd you learn this? And I was hoping he'd say, you know, I learned it from you, you know. I'd be like, that would be the most insane testimonial ever. But unfortunately, he was like, I learned it, you know, I've been doing it 2 years. And, but, you know, I mean, this is the cool part is I said, well, you know, what do you think of my class? He's like, your class is freaking awesome and stuff. So it made me feel good, you know. But yeah, that's another example is, you know, those are domain names that they're .infos. They're really like impossible to find as .coms, right? I mean, where you find travelcoupons.com, you're not going to find that, you know, .com. But I guess this guy, he's doing .infos. I'm used to like getting something with like maybe 3 words as a .com, or like, you know, you can still get smaller niches like gettingpregnant.org is an example of one that I got. Now that wasn't a .com, right? It was a .org, but it was 300,000 searches, and Google will dig that. They will dig that if you build a blog for it. I built a blog for it and I never did anything with it. It wasn't on the search engines, it wasn't anywhere. And I don't know how, I guess this guy was looking, I guess I had a couple other domain names, maybe on Flip or something, and he did like a who is check or something of like all my domains that I owned, like all my sites on my server or something. And it was it. He sent me an email, he says, hey man, you interested in selling this domain name? I was like, sure. And I was thinking he'd like offer like $500 or something. And he's like, do you know, how much you want to sell it for? I'm like, nope. And he's like, well, how about $5,000? I was like, yeah, okay, great. And I wasn't about to be, I wasn't about to like say, no, I want more. Maybe I should have, because if he's probably lowballing me. It's probably like he was in this business. He was in the in vitro business or something, and I don't know, but yeah, I mean, maybe it was worth a lot more. All I know is I went to GoDaddy and I did a search and it was $12, and 6 months later, boom, $5,000. So it's just crazy for me. And I remember the first, the next class after that, I don't remember if it was that day or whatnot, but I went into class and I said, oh my God, guys, you won't believe this. And so that was an example of, a keyword domain name. The way I found that was I opened up Google AdWords keyword tool, and I started putting a whole bunch of keywords in, and I was looking for pregnant keywords, like because I had a list of all these different niches. So it's just something I would do either, on the class or, creating a video like this, And so this one day I was just putting stuff into Google keyword tool, and this is one of the ones that was available. I was going through like a blogging phase too. I had this plan to, just do a whole bunch of blogs, but of course I just bought all these domain names, built the blogs, and then I didn't follow through with, the SEO and stuff, what it took, because I was busy. So this was cool. It was like the guy, buys it anyway. But yeah, that's it. Put all the stuff into Google keyword tool, and then every one of those 100 domain names or so, I put them in one by one into GoDaddy, and then the ones that are available, I purchased them. And this one had 300,000 views. Now, think about it this way. This isn't theory either. I've done this before. You could list these domain names on Cedo or Flippa or eBay. Okay, you can do it by category too. With like Cedo, you can do it by category, and people who are looking for domain names in those niches will look it up by category, and yours will come up. So if you were to purchase a domain name like that, getting pregnant, then you put that in women's health. And then so people who are in business in women's health and want to get a domain name like that, they'll either go to Cedo or GoDaddy auctions or Flippa, and they'll be looking for that type of domain name. They'll type in the keyword, pregnancy. And that, crazy, right? So those are keyword domain names. You guys see what I'm saying, right? We're kind of like at this point where you bought the domain name based on a popular keyword, and then you're selling it, and I put $50, $50 on up to $5 million. Now it's not, a little disclaimer, you're probably not going to be able to sell a $12 domain name for $5 million. I don't think they are readily available, put it that way. Or you're going to get real lucky or something. You might use my parameters, you might end up finding some really cool stuff if you put the time into it, and you'll see what I'm saying in the next video. But think realistically too, it's not easy to sell something for $5 million. The most I've ever sold anything for was $238,000, and that was a website. Okay, and that website made money and it had traffic and everything. And it was $238,000. Gettingpregnant.org, that was one of my best domain names I ever sold. I've sold domain names for $300, $500, $5,000, and a couple other ones. All price ranges around, similar to that. A lot of them that were like $100 or so. I've also a couple times very easily sold a domain name for $50, $100, that price range, when I had created a logo for it. Now, I don't want to skip ahead too much, because right now I want to talk about brandable domain names, the difference between a keyword domain name and a brandable domain name. Because I was just a second ago talking about how I had created a logo for a domain name, and I sold it on Flippa during a webinar, because on the live training I said, all right, let's sell a domain name. I'll show you guys how it's done. And so I bought a domain name, and it was some really stupid domain name I came up with. It wasn't even a keyword domain name. It was a brandable domain name, similar to what's one of mine, Music Master Pro. Now, as you know, prior to getting that domain name, Music Master Pro, no one searched for Music Master Pro. They started doing that a little bit after I went live with it, and I had affiliates and everything. But before I went live with it, no one was searching for Music Master Pro. They were searching for music lessons, drum lessons. Those are the people that I got to come to the site. Now, why don't I use a keyword domain name for that when I do my own product? Because no one will remember it. You get a brandable domain name so people will remember it, okay? And it gives it an identity, and it makes it different than other websites. If you want to build a blog, and have AdSense ads on it, or have, you know, ClickBank ads or Commission Junction or Amazon Store or some, you know, and and you buy musicstore.net, you know, that's totally different than a brandable domain name. Obviously, I don't even need to say it. You probably, every retail store is a brandable domain name. You know, Best Buy, you know, Sears, they're all brand names. You know, I could call my website Lewis, the Lewis shop. That's a brand name, okay? So, and I call them brandables, you know, brandable domain names. So those are different. You can't just you can't just come up with a brand name, buy the domain name for 12 bucks and then sell that domain name. It is going to be really hard to do. The keyword domain names you can. You buy it, you sell it. Remember, we're going that way, and you have that option to sell it right away. But remember, you're looking at a minimum of 50 bucks. Obviously, remember the getting pregnant example. I didn't even list it. So let's try to think about spending some time, finding some good domain names, and put them on the market and try to get some good amounts for them. You know, try to get some good amounts based on the amount of searches they get and the monetization. We're going to get into the listing too, and we talk about the listing when we're done. Or here, the listing. And I could talk about that a little bit right now. It's very simple. There's a few different things you need to tell your prospect in the listing. The flip a listing, for instance. If you're just selling one domain name, that better be an amazing domain name, great domain name, like gettingpregnant.org. And then, that's not enough. Do 5 bullet points, which look like this. And each bullet point would say the amount of searches. You know, like it's a selling point. Like, it has 300,000 searches, man. You know? $2 a click AdSense. You know, meaning if you put AdSense ads, if you created a site, I mean, it's in a niche that's very monetizable. I mean, you could get a $40 AdSense click. You know, the mesothelioma. That is a terrible freaking thing, man. I mean, how you know, the lawyers that sue for injuries, it's the highest stuff, because they could, the reason why they pay so much, they pay 40 bucks for AdWords. So then the AdSense, you get a very big percentage of that if you direct traffic for it's like a big, you know, circle, you know, the AdSense, AdWords, AdSense. It's a big circle. You got buyers and people who reap rewards for the, you know, the people who are buying the traffic. But yeah, I mean, so look, you put all of your benefits here, you know, 300,000 for this domain name, the gettingpregnant.org, for instance, right? $2 a click AdSense, 3,000 searches, quick transfer, you know, you just write down everything. Oh, I know another one you could do is if it's aged, you know, it could be, you know, 6 years old, you know, just as many good things about the domain as possible. Just let them know that, how good it is, okay? Awesome brand, too. I mean, getting pregnant was not only a keyword, but it was a brand name, too. It was a cool brand name. And that can happen sometimes. Sometimes it can't, though, like dogtrainingstrategy.net. Terrible brand name, but awesome keyword domain. So remember, again, the benefits of the keyword domain name, like the dogtrainingstrategy.net, the benefits of that are you'll be able to sell it right away based on, you know, that it has searches, it's an exact domain name. You can actually even put that there, you know, exact, just let them know that. Go even a little bit more exact keyword you know, let them know that it's an exact keyword domain name, gets, you know, however many searches it gets. If it gets 700,000 searches, the ones over 1 million are kind of like, just check to make sure that's legit. It could be like the name of a movie or something, and then in that case, it's like you got tricked because you thought it was something where, you know, info book, you know, or, you know, it'll do me some good to have a blog for it. And you don't want to mess around with trademarks either. You never want to buy a domain name that's based on a trademark because you can get in trouble for that. Big trouble, okay?